Welcome everyone to our first ever live. And today for our August monthly book club read, I decided to read this. So let's read the blurb. Berlin, 11th July 1986. They meet by chance on a bus. She's a young student, he's older and married. There's an intense and sudden interaction fueled by a shared passion for music and art, heightened by the secrecy they must maintain. Political league, the relationship takes a darker turn just as the GDPR begins to crumble, ushering in a new era whose great gains also involve profound loss. The prologue. Will you come to my funeral? She looks down at a coffee cup in front of her and says nothing. Will you come to my funeral? He says again. Why funeral? You're alive, she says. He asks her a third time. Will you come to my funeral? Sure, she says. I'll come to your funeral. I've got a plot with a birch tree next to it. Nice for you, she says. 4 months later, she's in Pittsburgh when she gets the news of his death. It's her birthday, but after she gets my congratulatory calls from Europe, she gets his son Ludwig on the phone saying Dad died today. On her birthday. The day of his funeral, she's still in Pittsburgh at 5 in the morning. 10 o'clock in Berlin, she gets up in time for the beginning of the ceremony, sets a candle on the hotel table up top, lights it, and plays music for him. YouTube. The second movement from Mozart's D minor piano concerto K466, the aria from Bach's Goldberg Variations, the A minor Chopin Mazurka. Each piece comes with commercial interruptions. The new hand-year, a bank offering some home loans, a cold cure when she returns to Berlin 6 weeks later. She sees the fresh sand pile next to the birch tree. The roses she got a friend to lay on the grave have already been cleared away. Her friend tells her all about the ceremony and the music that was played. What music was it? Mozart, Bach, and Chopin, her friend says. She nods. 6 months later, her husband is home by himself when a woman turns up and delivers 2 large cardboard boxes. She was crying, he says. I had to give her a handkerchief. The cardboard boxes are left standing around in Katrina's studio into the fall. Each of the cleaning lady comes, Katrina moves them into the sofa. Once the room's been cleaned, she puts them back on the floor. When she needs to use the library steps, she pushes them aside. She has no space on her shelves for 2 large cardboard boxes. The basement flooded recently. Maybe she should just take them to the dump. She opens them up and looks inside, shuts it again. Kairos, the god of fortunate moments, is supposed to have a lock of her hair on her forehead, which is the only way of grasping hold of him, because once the god has slipped upon his winged feet, the back of his head, sleek and hairless, now to grip hold of it was a moment then. When she or 19 first met hands, one day in early November, she sits down on the floor and prepares herself to sift sheet by sheet, folder by folder. Though the contrast, the first box, then the second is so much richer. The older items date back to 86, the later 92. There are letters, carbons, letters, scribbled notes, helping lists, DOS, diaries, photo prints and negatives, postcard colleagues, a fake news, paper clingings, a sugar cube from the Kranzler Cafe, deep triggers in the fingers, pressed flower petals slip out from between pages, passport photographs, day painted piece of paper. There's a twist of hair in the matchbox. She has a suitcase of her own full of letters, carbon and souvenirs, flat products for the most part, as the archivists like to say, her own diaries and journals. The next day she climbs up the library steps and takes down from the top shelf. It's incredibly dusty inside and out. A long time the paper in the box and those in the suitcase were speaking to each other. Now they're both speaking to time. A suitcase like that, cardboard boxes like that, full of middle and endings and beginnings, buried in the decades worth, were striving for truth. Things intertwined, other things passed over, all lying together, higgledy-piggledy, the contradictions and denials, silent fury and mute adoration together in one envelope, on one folder they were forgotten just as the crease yellowed as what dimly disgustingly all remembers, while her hands pick up dust from the old folders. Katrina remembers how her father had to make use perfumes of the Charlotte beneath as a magician. I He would throw a whole pack of playing cards by in the air and still manage to pick out the one she or one of the other children had chosen. Nothing exists but you and I, and if you two be not, they God is no more God, and thou must fall the sky, Angelus Silesius. Chapter 1 of 1. On that Friday in July, she thought, even if he comes now, I'm still going. On that Friday in July, he spent all day over two sentences. Who knew writing was his art? He thought, she thought, I had to put up a here with him. He thought, and it's not getting any better. She, maybe the record will have come. He, the Hungarians will maybe have a copy of Lucas. She grabbed her jacket and bag and went out. She picked up his jacket and his cigarettes. He crossed this bridge. He walked up Friedrichstrasse, and because there was the sign of the bus coming, she dove into the second-hand bookstore. She passed Französische Straße. She bought a book, and the price of the book was 12 marks. And when the bus stopped, he got in. She had the exact change. And just as the bus had closed its doors, she emerged from the store, and when she saw the bus not yet moving, she broke into a run. And the bus driver made an exception for her and opened the road door. Over door. She got on the bus as they passed the open cafe. The skies grew dark, and when they reached the Kronfeldpalais, the storm broke, a flurry of rain blew, and the strangest when the bus stopped on a marked Engelsplatz and opened its doors. A lot of passengers pressed in to get out of the train, or out of the rain. And she just had been by the door, who was pushed into the middle. The doors closed again, the bus moved, and she felt for a handhold. And that's when she saw him, and he saw her. Outside there was now a veritable downpour. Inside, stream was rising from the great claws of the passengers. She just got on. The next stop was Alex, and the stop itself was under the S-Bahn overpass. After going out, she made landing under the overpass to wait for it to stop raining. And the other passengers who got off, they remained standing under the overpass, waiting for it to stop raining. He too had got off and was standing there, and she looked at him a second time, and he looked at her, and because the air was cold and after the rain, she pulled on her jacket. She saw him and smiled at herself. And then she understood that she had pulled on her jacket over her back. She felt stupid because now she understood that it was why he had smiled. She straightened herself out and waited some more. At last the rain stopped. Before she stepped out from the overpass, she looked at him a third time. Responded to her look and set off in the same direction. After not many steps, she caught her wheel between two paving stones, and he slowed his step. She was able to free herself and walk on. And he picked up his temper right away. Now they were both walking and smiling at the ground. They walked down the flight of steps, through the long tunnel, up into the other side of the road. The Hungarian culture center closed at 6, and it was 5 past. She turned to him, saying, "It's shut already," and he replied, "Shall we have a coffee?" And she said, "Yes." That was all. Everything was underway. There was no other possibility. It was July 11th, 1986. How could he shake her off? The kid, what if someone saw them together? How old was she anyway? "I have my coffee black without sugar. That way he take me seriously. Some shit and go, and he thinks, what's her name? Katrina, and his sons?" After a dozen sentences, he realizes he's been here before. It was at a May Day demonstration years ago. She was a little girl holding on her mother's hand and crying. Ilka Ambach, that was her mother. She said something about having just had her picked her car out of the steps and her black coffee, and the time her mother had been doctoral student. Same academy building where the bus research. That was house. "Are you married?" "Yeah." He actually remembers a little curb-headed kid who would only stop crying when her mother picked her up and set her on the shoulders. The altered perspective had distracted her from the grief. He had remembered the trick and tried, and with his own son later. "You have a son, yes." "What's his name?" "Ludwig." "Oh, Ludwig. He was an awful little prick," she says, in the hope of making him laugh. He laughs and says, "My favorite bit is this," he yelled, and was made a hand sore, and the hold spoon until his paw by way of illustration. He picks up his coffee spoon. She only a decade ago. Her mother was sitting by her bedside, reading cautionary tales from Straw Peter to her till she fell asleep. She sets down the spoon and he sets down the spoon and shakes out a cigarette. "Do you smoke?" "No." She remembers the cut of pigtail. She shamed. She felt going on the public, looking so mutilated. but she had forgotten that her mother had set her on her shoulders and carried her past the podium, comforted her. Strange, she thinks all these years of bit life has gone on existing in the stranger's head, and now he's given it back to me. Are her eyes blue or green? Anyway, I have to go soon. He says, can she tell that she's lying, that neither wife nor son are waiting for him today? His son is 40, which must have make her 18 or 9. 18, because his wife switched institutes in 1970, and it was a year later she became pregnant. 19 she was, says, a dips a sugar cube in a black coffee after all. But your hair has grown black. Yes, thank God. The way she looks, she might be 16, 16 and a half blacks. So you're a student now, and I'm learning typewriting. I work for a state publishing company and hope to study commercial design in-house. So you're artistic. I'll ever make it through the entrance exam. What about you? Am I right? Novels, yes, books I could buy in a bookstore, of course, he says, thinking she's about to ask him what his surname is. Hans, what she duly asked, and he tells her the name of that, but evidently it's not the same with familiar, not your kind of thing. What makes you sure, she said, and now helps her to cream as well, and she only just born. When his first book appeared, he took his first steps under Hitler. But what a girl do without a book about death and dying, she thinks. He doesn't think she can read. And he thinks he's afraid of being an old man in her young eyes. And what does her mother do now? She works in a natural history museum. And your father, he's been a professor in Leipzig for the past 5 years. What's his field? Cultural history. I see some more names are branded favorites of her parents, her friends, and her parents' names. He knows all the index, everyone involved in some times, everyone else. First they were all young, then they had babies together, married, separated, fell in love, became enemies, friends plotted or practiced withdrawal, always the same people at parties and bars, at openings and premieres. In a small country with no easy exit, everything fell inevitably inbred. So the sitting opposite him in the cafe is the daughter of the Amberg woman. The sun is reflected from the glittering windows of the palace hotel. This could be in New York, he says. Ooh, have you been there? Yes, for work once. I've been might be visiting Call in August. She says if I get permission to go, you'll go relatives in the West. When is the grandmother's 70th birthday? Colon's awful, he says. Well, there's a Colon Cathedral, she says. And I'm sure that's not awful. It's Colon Cathedral compared to the Kremlin churches in Moscow. I've never been to Moscow eventually. The cups are empty, and so is the little vodka glass in front of Hans, and he's looking around for the waiter. But the girl has her face cupped in her hands. Now she's staring at him again, looking at him as purely pure as an fashionable word nowadays. The intention is noble and honest and pure. Magic fluid, Act 1. Arms are so smooth. Will she be like that all over? High time the came. On the way out, he manages not to shake her hand, merely says, well, be seeing you. They walk out onto the street together, then he nods her to turn her, turns and walks off. She walks off the other way, but only as far as the lights where she stops. She knows his surname, it won't be hard to find his address. Drop a note on his mailbox or wait outside his door. The tram jingles its bells, cars splash through the puddles. The light change for the pedestrians, changing vegetables, paying through the tips. Still standing there, changing back. She hears the hissing of wet tires and is spelled. She doesn't want to be anywhere without him. Be seeing you, said. Be seeing you. Didn't even take her hand. Couldn't she have been utterly mistaken? But just then he says behind her, or shall we spend the evening together after all? His wife and son were out in the country with friends. From the Alex, he took the U-Bahn north to the Panko and then 3 stops by tram. Then walked directly across the square under the cupped weeping beech. Funny hair doing that tree, he says, and the grin, and she grins. But because she's been grinning almost constantly, there's no visible difference into her. That into the house and up to the 5th floor. And a wooden chest, paintings clustered on the walls, graphics, photographs, salon hanging. He says, she nods and stares. We've been living here for 20 years. Says, come on, I give you the tour. She follows him down the narrow passageway and makes a left to open door. Kitchen, he says. She sees a sideboard, a sink kitchen, table tinted blue, a wooden corner bench, and behind the bench is a window onto the yard. There's not even a tree, he says, but every morning have a blackbird singing. I don't know what possesses the things all still on the table, and Honey John's sees eggshells on the plates and a white animal teapot, 3 cups. The bedroom is on the block. He says, walking on the point down the end, the hallway. This year is the bathroom, rubbing the knuckles on the floor next to the kitchen. Opposite, she sees a hand on the wall door next to the kitchen. Opposite, she sees a handwritten sign on the door. No entry, this little room, he says, leaning on the doorknob but turning it then back past the pictures on the other side of the apartment. It's a corner building, remember, he says. The large room he sees shows her into the room, and there's a round one dining table and 6 chairs, each one different draped. Across the back of one is a woman's cardigan. The corner is a bed, a display cabinet, and missing cups and plates. He walks across the top 2 windows and through them open. If you open the windows up here, he feels a bit like being in heaven. So through the wide doorway, he walks into what is evidently the living room. On the door, a floor is a blue rug. There are white walls and a leather sofa with stubbly feet, and left is the stove, and right of a standing lamp. The Lutz Rudolph big design, she says. We have one too. He's a friend. He says, opening the windows here as well as she's standing in the doorway. Lean against the door jamb. He will remember how she looks. He turns the pork past her, but not too close. Then around the tiny table, pushes open the slightly looking double doors to the other room on the right. Beyond, she sees a narrow room with bookshelves up to the ceiling. I'm not especially good with my hands, she says, looking at the slightly wonky boards. She walks near the piles. Keep growing her, he says, pointing at streak of books on the floor with her there. He's looking into his own room as though it was unfamiliar. A desk in the bay window. Is that where you work then? Mostly not. I keep a study of Klinkerstrasse. I prefer to work away from home. Klinkerstrasse is where I keep all my stuff for the radio too. That's my employment. What you do there? She's English. Puts them in a microscope. Write scripts. They call a freelance contract. Yes, I am a contracted to write one program a year, and I get paid extra for any others whatsoever. Squirrel is it again. Sometimes they struck subjects. If I run into some topic while I'm researching my own books, he says, they are usually music composers, musicians of musicology, student ones. Probably not interesting for you. I like Bach, the says, and wonders whether she heard him speak on the radio. So do I, he says. What's some wine, she says. She says. And this is where I'm gonna stop for today. I hope you enjoyed it for a little bit. My voice is going a little bit, so I'm gonna get a drink. So I'm gonna do some more streaming.